Welcome to Love and Hustle. We share unfiltered stories of marriage, entrepreneurship, and scaling to seven figures without losing sight of what matters most.
The raw, the real, the sacrifices, and the lessons learned the hard way.
This is Love and Hustle. In this episode with Ashley Wilson of Ashley Wilson Photography, we are going to be talking about some of her most vulnerable moments in her career and how those became the driving force behind the most rapid change she has ever made that has resulted in her highest earning year yet. Join me in this podcast episode with my alumni and let's jump to it. Hey guys, and welcome back to Love and Hustle. I'm Brittany and I have Ashley Wilson here today. I am so excited to follow up to our last episode talking all about mindset, but honestly sharing Ashley's story and how she has overcome so many mindset barriers and literally has made a complete 180 in her business in the last year. So let's jump in. Ashley, share with the audience a little bit about you, where you're located, what you shoot, all the things.
Yeah, so I'm Ashley. I am located in Jacksonville, Florida, and I specialize in maternity, newborn, and baby's first year. So kind of like the whole thing around motherhood and just kind of capturing all of those first milestones. And I've been doing this for about 8 years now. Obviously started like kind of like a side hustle, like I'm sure a lot of us are in that same boat. So but then I started to get really passionate about it after my son was born. He's 9 now. So he was kind of my main motivation for wanting to go full time because I wanted more time home with him. So luckily, after doing that as a side hustle for a few years, I gained, a client base that allowed me to be able to quit my job. And in 2020, I officially quit my job and went full time. So full time for almost 6 years now. But kind of doing it for about 8 total.
Yeah. So what was your previous job?
So I worked in the corporate world in like a call center in the early days, like right out of high school. And I was going to college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do professionally. So I just kind of went and like took the required courses. And then after 2 years, I was like, I still don't know what I want to do. So I took a break for a little while. Still working in the call center. And then I decided I wanted to be an interior designer. So I went back to school for interior design and I was almost done. I almost had my degree and then I got pregnant with my son and my mindset told me I can't do both. So I never finished. However, I was working in the design industry while I was in school. And then obviously once I got pregnant with my son and I quit school, I continued to work in the design industry for a lighting design company here locally, a small business. So even like having that small, like working for a small business and seeing like the operations side of things, I mean, I was one of like 4 employees total, including the owner of the company. So it was very, very small. And so that kind of gave me a lot of foundation for like what that looked like. So I'm very grateful for that experience. So I worked there for about 7 years.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that there's so much to be learned. Like I worked in other portrait studios, then I was a nurse, and even being in completely different industries, you walk away with so much skill set that can apply into what you do now. So
yeah.
Well, amazing. Okay, so I want to talk about how we came together because when I met you, well, I should say this time last year, when you and I came together, you were in a very vulnerable place. And honestly, one that from experience of having coached other photographers, it was a space I was really nervous to enter with you because of that vulnerability and knowing. Will you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I had been following you for a few years and I was in your secret stories and I always was drawn to like the way that you spoke to photographers, like just and I think I watched the episode with Brooke and she kept saying like the data, like that. And so I think subconsciously, even though I didn't even know about LTL at the time, subconsciously I was like taking notes, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I like this girl. Like, I like what she's saying, and I think she could help me and all of that. And so simultaneously, I was also looking at my numbers, and I'm like, I haven't made more money in like 3 years. Like, I've made the same amount of money every single year. I'm doing everything that I can to try to push the needle, and nothing is working. And I just was like, felt like I was kind of in a place of almost giving up. Um, I didn't really know where to go next. I feel like I had no direction. I was very scatterbrained. I was very like, I didn't have any photography friendships either, like anybody that I could confide in, like, hey, like, do you have any advice? Like, what am I doing wrong? What can we do? So I felt truly alone, like very, very isolated. And so kind of like hearing your stories for such a long time. And then you announced like the LTL thing. And I was like, I think this is like my last resort. Like, this is, I don't know what else to do,
Mhm.
other than to take such a big risk, because financially it was not possible for me to even afford your course, even with the payment plan. I was like, I don't even, like, are we going to be able to pay our electric bill next month? Like, I can't spend this money on LTL when I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you saying that you were struggling to even make Christmas a possibility for your kids.
Yeah.
And that to me, just like, ugh, that's so hard to hear. But I think it kind of just that alone illustrated just where you guys were um, as a family and knowing. I just knew how big of a deal this was for you. And that vulnerability can be so powerful, but it also can like overcome us. And knowing that shaky ground that you were on made me very nervous to enter that with you. But
Yeah.
obviously, I wanted to pour everything I could into you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about like the decision to like go all in and to like, because I think if I recall, you were like, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. I'm like, we have to make money. And I was nervous. Like, even though it's one thing to like see the results from other people who have taken your class, but again, going back to mindset, I'm like, oh, well, that stuff doesn't happen for me. Like, that happens for her other students, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure those are real results, but it won't happen for me. Again, mindset, right?
Mindset right there.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, and that was a hurdle all on its own, where I was just like, is it even worth it for me? You know?
Like, can it be possible for me?
Could it be? Yeah, I'm like, I just don't see a world where that could be possible. And that's kind of where I was at the time. So it's like, even though I knew that the program worked, I didn't think that I was worthy of those results.
So, yeah.
Um,
And I think
yeah,
so many people that are listening to this right now probably can identify with that.
for sure. Yeah. And I think even just as photographers in general, like, we're always our own worst critics, right? We're always, it is hard to push past that mindset barrier a lot of the time. And it still is, I still work on it every day. I'm not completely healed.
Yeah.
But I'm like 10 times better than I was a year ago, you know?
Yeah, I think mindset is it's like working out.
Yeah.
Like in order to stay fit and tone, you don't just get to like suddenly stop doing it one day. You have
Yeah.
to, you know, continually work at it. And I think even myself, I have to work through mindset shifts all the time. I was in a really bad mind space, like coming out of LTL and going into Focus and Flourish, and it was a really like hard space for me. And so
Really?
I think that even, yeah, I think that even, and for me, I think launching something new for the first time, and I had a fear of rejection. I had a fear that people weren't going to want the offer. I was creating something that I really wanted and I envisioned, but you don't know how people are going to accept that, right? And
Yeah.
and so I also know that, and I'll be very transparent because that's what I want for this podcast. I want people to feel like they can have like relatable conversations. But for me, I think in that moment of launching LTL, I also really had hopes and visions and dreams of who would be there. And then realizing that those people weren't going to be there, I'm going to cry because it mattered a lot to me.
Yeah.
Those people not being there like hurt a lot. And so, it's like when you're going to do something scary for the first time, it's not just like well, I should say at the end of the day, it's you, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to pull yourself out of that. You can't rely on the people around you for
Yeah.
those affirmations, and that belief in yourself has to come from within. So
Yeah. It does.
like tearing up, but that was a really hard thing for me.
Yeah.
So all that to say, where you were kind of alone on an island, like entering into this like almost, I hate, like, I don't know if it's the best verbiage, but like rock bottom. Like you were
Yeah.
in a state of, you didn't have anybody like cheering you on. You didn't have, obviously you have your husband.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have your family. But when it comes to like a peer, or you didn't have that person to be like, do this, take this.
Yeah.
So what made you decide? What made you go all in?
I think it was that rock bottom. Like I had nowhere to go but up. Like, I guess, I mean, kind of, right? So I've kind of talked about a little bit how I couldn't really afford the program, even with the payment plan. Like it just was not financially possible for me. So, I was like, you know what? The last resort that I have is to ask my parents if they would lend me the money or invest in my business, if you will. And my parents, I don't know, I think everybody's parents are kind of the same way, right? Like they think that you're the most amazing of all time, right? They just like, they believe in you so much that more than anybody ever will, right? And so I remember,
So we hope that our parents,
I know, right? Hopefully, for the most part, that's true, right?
yes,
Just knowing, I mean, how even I am with my 9-year-old, I'm like, oh, he's better than anybody that's ever lived.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I remember it took me so long to work up the courage to ask my parents. I was terrified because I don't like asking for help. Like I will struggle and struggle and struggle before I ever ask for anybody's help with anything. And that's just how I've always been. So me asking my parents for money, I'm like, this is the worst case scenario for me. Like I feel like a failure, really, asking them for money.
I can identify with that too, because
Yeah.
I struggle to ask for help. I think as I've moved into motherhood, I've gotten better at recognizing that I can't do it all. But especially when it comes to like finances, I think for anyone, that's a really hard thing to do because it feels like failing.
Yeah. So I asked my mom. My mom is like, I go to her first because sometimes I feel like my dad's just gonna say no, when really it's what I've learned as I've gotten older is that it's the opposite. My dad was always the one in the background with the soft heart. I didn't know that when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I can see that. So I called my mom and I was like, so I have something to ask you, mom. She's like, what is it? Like, she's like panicking, thinking that I'm about to tell her something devastating. And I was like, so there's this class and I think it's going to really help me like make more money and stuff. And so I was wondering if like maybe you could lend me some money. And she was like, oh, how much do you need? And I told her and she was like, oh, that's it. And I was like, what do you mean? That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she
Which
was like,
goes to show you that it's all relative, right? Like,
yeah.
Which we have to remind ourselves, even like with our own clients, that like,
yeah,
perception is everything, and
for sure,
what's it high to one person isn't necessarily to the next. So
yeah, and then she's like, oh, Kevin, my dad's name is Kevin. Pull up the bank account, like get the money transferred. But like, not a big deal. He just got up out of his chair and was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. And then once I got past that, like, okay, awesome, like I can do this now, then I was like, oh, but now I have to succeed. Like, now I have to make it work, because if I take their money and take the program and I don't do what I'm supposed to do, and I don't get the results that I was claiming to my mom that this program would give me,
Yeah.
then that would have been embarrassing, disappointing. And I all around just felt like they would think that they made a bad investment in me.
Yeah.
So there was pressure to perform for them because they invested in my business and believed in me. But then there was also pressure because I still was at rock bottom. Like, I still needed this to work for my family too. So it was a lot. It was very heavy. I was excited, but it was very heavy.
Yeah. And I remember like you sharing that with me, and I know that like the transfer that they made for you like took a few extra days, and you were like, I'm taking the program. You were so worried that I was gonna like close the doors and just be like, sorry,
Yeah.
Ashley. Like,
Yeah, because it was like down to the last day, because I waited till the last minute, as I usually do for a lot of things, because I was nervous about asking my parents. So
yeah.
I waited till like the last day, and then yeah, I was like, I can't get the money.
Yes. And I think that you hear that saying, it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
And I think so often people are afraid to make investments because of what they'll lose if it doesn't work.
Hmm.
And I'm of the belief that like one, every failure is not failure. Failure is learning.
Yeah.
That saying like fail forward. Because even when you do, let's say you invest in some marketing, like I just told you right now, I just paid almost $5,000 to be featured in a magazine, and it's a membership that I'm paying for. Like, that's an investment. It's a scary one, but if it doesn't work this time next year, we're like, okay, well, great. Now we know that that's not a channel that works for us.
Yeah.
And so no failure obviously is like it all serves purpose, right? But I think because you had essentially when it came to your business, there was only one direction you could go, and it was up.
Yeah.
I said yesterday when we were recording the mindset episode, I said we were talking about that saying, if you want to take the island, burn your boats. And I was like thinking about you, and I was like, Ashley didn't have a boat to burn. Ashley's boat sank. Like, her boat was gone. Like, she didn't even get to choose.
She's out here
to be on
drowning.
it. Yeah, like you didn't even get to choose to be on it. Like, the only option you had was to swim.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something like there's so much beauty in that. And as much as it's a time and a space of huge vulnerability, it's also it's an opportunity to like realize that, hey, I don't have any other place to go but
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
And but up. So I think people, when they're in those situations, grasp at anything, right? Like, to keep them safe,
Yeah.
whether that's, a part-time job or, whatever kind of like a life ring that they have that's floating out there, but that's what's actually keeping them from moving forward. So I just love your stories. So tell me over this year, because you had to overcome so many shifts. Like, one, you were probably extremely like the vulnerability and the need, like you had to really bring yourself to a place to even ask for help. You got through that.
Yeah.
Then you got into the program. And what happened there? Like, what, because where you are now, and we're going to get to this in a minute, is like amazing where you are now. But I want to know what happened in the last year. Like, what were the things you had to overcome?
So when I first, when the course first started at the beginning of this year, um, I was super intimidated because all the girls in the class, in my eyes, were like 10 times more successful than me. And this really does still go back to mindset. I feel like everything goes back to mindset, right?
100%.
Um, and so I just kept trying to tell myself, it's okay. They probably think the same thing about me. They probably think that I'm more successful than they are. Like I think we're all kind of in
Our
that
own
same.
imposters, right?
Yeah. So I just kept trying to tell myself, like, you deserve to be here. You are going to make this work. Um, and I think because in the photography industry, a lot of the time we are met with this competition over community vibe from a lot. I mean, it happens a lot, right? It very rarely do I think we are finding community over competition unless you're in the right space. And LTL was that space for me because prior to that, I had not felt that community. I had not felt that. I had felt more of a competition vibe from really everybody that I had come into contact with in the industry.
Mhm.
Even so much as like reaching out to other local photographers to like in the beginning. And it was just like, no, I'm like, okay, cool. So I think that like joining LTL and having that sense of community helped my confidence. Like I felt like I had a place where I belonged. Cause like nobody really understands what you're going through
Yeah.
day in and day out. Like, yeah, my husband hears all these things, on the side, but like he doesn't necessarily live it every moment of every day.
Mhm.
And he can't like he relates to an extent but not fully, right? So that community, that sense of community was like a really really important part that I don't think that I knew I needed that until LTL. Like I wasn't going into LTL for the community because I was in such a desperate place. For me, I was like, okay, well, how can I make more money? Like, yeah, cool
Yeah.
community, but how do I make more money? But then when I got into it and I realized that that was a piece that I was missing because that confidence carries over into the other parts of my business. Um, but I mean, then, and then I don't know if you remember this, but like almost in the middle of the program, my son was hospitalized and he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I
Yes.
felt like I had done all of this work in the first half of LTL where I would like mental work, where I was like pushing forward and I was like telling myself, like, I'm awesome. I can do this. Like, this is great. And then this happened, yet another setback, right? In my, I feel like I've had all of these personal setbacks that are happening in life that are setting me back in my business. It's just
Mhm.
always been one thing after another. And so then here we are with a 9-year old with a type 1 diabetes diagnosis, and my whole world was flipped upside down. And so
Mhm.
I had all this momentum from LTL that like came to a halt, a total
Yeah.
halt, because it was really hard for me to focus and do what needed to be done when I was trying to figure out what my child could eat.
Yeah.
um, and all of those things. But we pushed past it, but it was really hard. And I think I missed the last call because that was the day that he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's all these things going on behind the scenes. But then, that kind of pushed me forward even more because I knew that I needed to make this work because he needed me to be available and flexible so that I could care for him, go pick him up from school or take him to the doctor or stay home with him when he's not feeling well and all those things. And I can't do that with a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
So I needed a way to make this work so that I could remain available for him. So that's just kind of a little bit about,
Yeah.
that part of it.
I think that as I listen to your story from the perspective of a coach, in that moment there was two things. There were like two paths that your mindset could have gone down. You could have gone down the path of being a victim of this terrible situation that you were in, of like, this is happening to my family, and that narrative could have flipped and been like, I can't do this, it's too much for me. And absolutely, taking, like, not being at the call, of course. But
Yeah.
as you came through that, I think a lot of people allow the circumstances of a situation to become the reason why they don't move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you actually took the situation and allowed it to be your fuel to move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes about you as a person, and like how strong you are, like deep down, to be able to allow a really terrible, like very hard time in your life to become that powerful force behind
Yeah.
the movement. So as you moved through, tell us, like, because that was like springtime.
Yeah. Like end of March, early April.
Yes. And so then you finished, you got through, you started implementing. Obviously, if I recall, you didn't implement everything during it. It was kind of like trickling out past it. If you're a photographer with a service-driven heart looking to consistently deliver printed artwork to your clients, my group coaching mastermind, Leveraging to Luxury, is opening very soon. Whether you're just starting out with product sales or you're a seasoned expert in the sales room, whether you're in a small town or a big city or international, this is the proven strategy that has scaled hundreds of photographers to multi-six figures with products and services and not their time. This is the exact model that has now scaled my own business to 7 figures with a team. In this 10-week intense mastermind, you'll learn everything from how to run your numbers more strategically as a business, to mindset, to the value-based pricing model that is scalable and truly designed for the benefit of the client. I'll teach you everything from consultation calls to the sales room process, to how to guide your client in a very intentional way that only generates the best result for them, but also for you. If you can imagine, it's like riding shotgun in my own business while I am getting in the trench of your business. I take just a handful of students one time a year. So if you're serious about making changes in your business and 2026 is the year for you, applications open very soon. Join the waitlist. The link is in the show notes.
I did. I implemented before you told us to implement. I was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Yeah, I sometimes tell people to slow down, because what ends up happening, and I'll just say for those who are listening, sometimes what happens is when people move too far forward, too quickly, they end up, and this has happened, where someone's like, I booked a client and it's next week and you haven't taught me the sales room section.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all of a sudden blowing me up, and they're saying, what do I do? And I'm like, this is why you don't work forward until... So there's like certain pieces that you have to have in the puzzle in order for you to actually... Yeah. But I love it. I love that you were like a go-getter. You're like, I'm going to do this.
What's really funny is that me and a couple of the girls in my pod, because we had like the side polo going, right?
Yeah.
Like where you kind of grouped us in. And Eva, I think it was Eva. Eva was like, so is anybody else implementing? Because like I'm already implementing. And I was like, me, I'm doing it. We're like, okay, cool. But I mean, I wasn't implementing for clients who were like booking next week, because that would have definitely stressed me out. Like I was implementing for like future sessions,
like stuff that was down the pipeline. You were doing it cautiously.
Yeah, I was cautiously implementing.
I love that. Okay, so I remember you had some really great clients that happened through the summer. Can you share with us, just for people, like, when did you make your investment back?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first couple sales, because I was still kind of dipping my toe, were relatively small, I guess, now in terms of what I have done since then, but they were like 2,500 each. Mm-hmm. And that happened within like the first month or two. But then on month 3 in July, I had a $7,500 sale.
Wow.
Which, I mean, made the investment back and then some.
Yeah.
you
Oh my
know?
gosh, that's amazing.
Like I remember we like put the order together and I don't have a studio, so I'm not, I guess, full IPS, but we did a
Mhm.
Zoom ordering appointment. And we put like the gallery wall together, 11 frames, which I was like, "Oh my God, okay." And she gave me her credit card number and I was like, in my head I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Are you sure?
You're like questioning it for your client. You're like, just be cool. Everyone spends the
I
same
did.
money.
I was like, and okay, what's the number and the expiration date? And I'm like looking around and I'm like sweating and I'm like, this is like a lot of money. Like I cannot comprehend handing somebody my credit card for this amount of money. And but again, it's relative, right? She was like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
Not a
And it's one
problem.
of those things where like you have to consciously tell yourself to not assume anything about your clients.
Right. Yeah.
And um because that assumption is what will cap you as well. To
Yeah.
assume that your client doesn't want an album or to assume that your client needs to scale it down.
Yeah.
And you just operate in the belief that until they verbalize that this is not a good this doesn't work for us for whatever reason, you just do your thing and try not
Proceed.
to
Yeah.
impose your beliefs onto them or your money beliefs or what you
Right.
value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that that's a huge mindset thing that happens as you're entering this space of really, especially when you move out of collections and into the value-based model that I teach, is that you have to let your client determine what they value. You have to, you obviously are guiding them in that through like the design process and the client experience, but when it comes to like what they're willing to pay for it, that's their decision for
Yeah.
sure. So, uh, okay, so obviously you made your investment back within, it sounds like a couple of clients.
Yeah.
Um, and so now we're heading into Christmas. What is Christmas going to look like this year for your family?
Oh my gosh. I'm over here trying to figure out like how much money I should save
I
instead
love
of
that.
like, oh, how are we going to make this like what credit card can we open up to put Christmas on this year? Like it's I don't have any stress. Like I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it and that is priceless.
I was just going to say
Priceless.
that word. That's like
Priceless.
priceless. You like can't even you can't even like articulate into words what it feels like to alleviate yourself from going from wondering if you're even going to be able to have Christmas to being like, how much are we going to save? Because we're definitely not going to spend it all. It's
Right. Yeah. I'm like, oh, so now I'm almost in a place where like before it's like, okay, let me look for the deals. Where's the sales, right? Because I didn't have the money to spend, so I was trying to spend as little as possible. Now that I have the money, I still want to spend as little as possible because I want to hang on to it.
yeah,
So but it's a different like feeling. Like that's a good feeling to be like, all right, well now let me shop the deals because like I want to keep the money I worked so hard to make, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing, and it's like I think for when it comes down to it, we're real people, right? Real. And I know that so often, when you see when you see people talk about success stories, it can a lot obviously numbers really helps people. Numbers can be measurable for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But those elements that are priceless, I think a lot of times almost get overlooked. And thinking about the transformation that will happen to your personal life through having this business structure. And so it's so amazing to hear your story and to share it with everyone here that's listening. If you could give anyone advice who is maybe where you were a year ago, in some degree of that, what would you tell them?
Ooh. Um I would say to find a way. There's always something that you can do, right? For me, that was asking my parents. Not everybody has that option. So like, what are we selling around the house? What
Yeah.
extra gear do we have that maybe we don't need these 3 extra lenses? Get some cash, right?
Yeah.
Do what you have to do. Go drive for DoorDash or, temporarily, right? We've all
Yes.
done stuff that we don't want to do, but we need to do to get where we need to be.
Hmm.
And so that could be running a bunch of mini sessions at a low price because you're focused on volume, because you just need the quick cash, right? That's not your business model and you don't plan on doing that going forward, but I've done that.
Yeah, it is a great way to make
I've done that.
quick cash for sure.
Yeah.
I actually like hearing you say find a way. When I first started photography, I had Florida prepaid college, and I ended up my account had like a small balance in it, and I had to use it by a certain point, and so I cashed. It wasn't a ton of money. It was like it was maybe like less than $2,000. It was not. It was enough to like buy a camera body.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing is I sold a bunch of my, like, at the time I was really into Kate Spade. I sold a bunch of my Kate Spade and like just different things that I had sort of in some ways were valuable.
Yeah.
And there is a photo of me sitting at this like ancient Dell laptop that I had from like is Dell even a company anymore? I don't even know. Apple is like all I know. But that is how I bought my first 27-inch iMac to edit on. And
Yes.
I think that those moments of like literally, like you said, ask, like it's like humbling. It's humbling to remember where you were, to just even be able to get the startup, whether it comes from asking family or doing a little side hustle yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing. But I think every entrepreneur who's really like, and Zach and I talked about this yesterday, and I love watching like Shark Tank and all of these, massively successful,
Yeah.
billionaires. Majority of them were not born into that. And there was a time in their life where they had to like hustle. There was a time where they really truly like went door to door and, asked for the sale and, like literally took nothing and made something.
Yeah.
And I think it really sets the tone for resilience. It really sets the tone for what it takes to be successful in any industry as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And your story has just been so inspiring, and I'm really glad that you were willing to share it with
Of
everybody.
course.
I know how vulnerable that was, and obviously everyone's investment in my program is so important, but knowing that there was also your mom and dad behind it, your husband, that was something that that was the first for me to know that about one of my students, and I'm so glad you shared it with us.
Of course.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to ask you, frames or albums?
Are you asking me personally or professionally?
Ooh, I like this. Okay, so let's first say personally, what do you like?
Albums.
Tell us why.
Albums. I don't know. I'm like low key obsessed with albums. They're so, we only have so much wall real estate, right? And so when we run out of wall real estate, we have the album, and it's just something that is, I don't know, it's compact. You can pass it down. When you're done sitting it on the coffee table after however many years you're going to put it on the coffee table, you can put it in a cute little box up in the top of the closet. And 20 years later, when your kid moves out of the house, here is your baby album or your first birthday album or your, all of these memories. And I just feel like for me, there's something nostalgic about flipping pages.
100%.
So that is where my passion is.
I love that.
Personally.
I love that. Okay, so now tell us professionally.
Okay, so framing. Because my highest sales have been gallery walls, so I
Yeah.
can't, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love albums, but I also love frames.
Yeah, I will say that's very true for those who are listening is that like so albums do have higher margins,
Yeah.
which is great. However, they tend to cap out. Like you tend to only be able to make an album so big unless you're building it over the course of multiple sessions.
Yeah.
You really, from a singular session, can only make it so big. Um, and and the other thing for clients is that albums are a really hard sell. Like you can show somebody a gallery wall that literally transforms their entire room, or you can show them a product that's going to sit on a shelf and collect dust.
Right.
And so I always tell my clients that albums, you're making an investment in a legacy.
Yes.
That is the legacy you will pass down because let me tell you, this photo hanging behind me for those who are watching this episode, I have a photo of my kids. Like, let's say I go to give this to my kids someday. They're not going to hang it up. They're not going to like put this on the wall in their house.
Right.
But what they will argue over is who gets the albums. My kids will, like, because I have an annual album. Also, all my kids have a baby book. But yeah, I think people forget that, it's a hard buy-in to be like, okay, great, I'm going to spend
Yeah.
this money and it's going to sit there. But when you have something that has such tangible impact on a wall in a space that gets enjoyed
Yeah.
every day, people are willing to make a
Yeah.
higher investment. And so, yeah, I agree. The highest sales come from frames. And when you recognize that, I think too, I just want to say right now, like how proud of you I am because the section where I talk about being an artist versus being a business owner?
Yes.
This right here is a decision to be a business owner because she
Yeah.
understands while she personally loves albums, and I'm sure you can sell the crap out of them because your passion is, you can feel it, right? And that's an
Yeah.
important part of the sales room process is being passionate about something. But you've also recognized that in order for your business to hit the most fruitful components of it, finding a way to be equally passionate about framing is going
Yes.
to have a much more lucrative outlook for you. And this is,
Yeah.
thinking like a business owner and not like an artist. And it's just amazing to see even your ability to sort of like get out of your own way and be like, okay, this is what I really want to focus on. This is what is going to be my driving force because I know it's going to get me the best outcomes for my business in the bigger picture. So
Yeah.
well, this episode, having you has been amazing, Ashley. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just being so vulnerable and honest with the audience today. Tell us where we can find you.
Instagram, Ashley Wilson Photos. Website, ashleywilsonphotos.com.
Love it.
Facebook, I don't really like Facebook. I don't like
Yeah. And this is amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. And
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to watch you in the years to come.
Thank you.